Look at this, the Brady Bunch. This is the first time for us. We've never had four. It's a foursome, everybody.
Hey, it's a quad.
Welcome to future regret.
Totally. Yeah.
Mark, turn up your audio, Mark.
No, don't tell me what to do.
In other words, turn it off.
Good joke. He hasn't used that since the last time we've been on a call.
Ooh, which was what? Several minutes ago?
How's it going, guys?
Yeah, no, good. Yeah, no, we got to fill the dead air. I mean, I got to take a page out of Matt Bearden's book. We had a guy on who's a radio DJ a while ago, and we couldn't get a word in edgewise. And then afterwards, he was like, "Hey, sorry about that. I'm so used to. I got to fill the time. Got to fill the time. You can't have dead air. We don't operate like that. This is a DIY dad podcast where we go at whatever fucking pace we want.
Great.
All right."
Great.
Take that, Mark Carr. Is that his name? Carr? Brendan Carr. Mark Carr? Who's Mark Carr? Because I cursed. FCC. Topical humor. Guys, welcome to the Dadosphere. Welcome to World's Greatest Dad. Thank you for agreeing to do it. Thank you for being here. What an exciting development.
Thank you, guys. I mean, honestly, this is up there with the birth of my kid and now this podcast. So, I mean, it's a close, you switch them out, but...
Yeah.
The kid thing honestly didn't go that great for him.
No, it was touch and go. Yeah.
That makes sense. That explains a lot. You know what? Let's just get right into it. Introduce these guys, Ali. Tell our listeners who we have the pleasure of being in the Zoom room with. This quad.
This is a perfect time for me to actually... Oh, wait, now it looks... You know what? I'm real choppy. It's a perfect time for me to actually leave and come back because I don't know why you guys can hear me really well, but I'm going to go. I'll be right back. Perfect timing. Here we go.
I believe the quote was, "Every good CBS show shoots at Bamonte's."
Every Dick Wolf production ever shot at Vermont.
Done.
Anyways,
Dun.
all right, welcome back.
We're
Uninitiated listener, we had some technical difficulties, but you don't need to know about that. That's breaking the fourth wall stuff. That's not your business. What your business is knowing that here we are with Anderson and Fey and Anderson. They're like Stiller and Mira, which
Like
is
the captain and Tennille.
There you go. Whatever duo you fancy, it's a Rorschach test. And they are graciously here to talk about being dads, because that's kind of what we do here from time to time on World's Greatest Dad. Welcome to World's Greatest Dad. Ollie, welcome back from your technical difficulties, and please do the honors of introducing today's guests.
Here goes nothing. Pun intended. Today's guests are a dynamic duo who turned backyard barbecues into big-time success. Mark Anderson and Ryan Fey have been best friends for nearly 30 years. By day, they worked as advertising executives, but by night, they were cooking up crave-worthy eats for friends, dinner parties, and casual cookouts. Their passion for food and fun led them to Food Network's Guys Big Project, where Mark and Fey won the competition. They're New York Times best-selling recipe contributors and authors, but their most important credits, the reason they're here today, they're both proud fathers. Fey to his 16-year-old daughter Zoe, and Mark to his 11-year-old son Arthur. Please welcome the talented, bearded, and brilliant grill dads Mark Anderson and Ryan Fey to World's Greatest Dad.
Great. That was awesome. Thank you, man.
Can we bring you on the road as our intro hype man?
Yeah.
I read that off paper. I can't even memorize anything.
Really good.
I really just want to express my gratitude for you guys not shaving before this, because otherwise our whole intro would have been factually inaccurate.
It's scheduled for tomorrow, thankfully.
Mine's never scheduled. It doesn't come off, man.
Welcome. Thank you guys for being here. So we've established you are, I mean, it's kind of in the name, right? Like the grill dads. You're not just the grill dudes. You're not the grill guys. You're not the grill best friends, former ad execs turned grillers. You're the grill dads. Tell us about, let's just start there, and then we can go backwards and then forwards, and then we skip around. But like, how'd you become the grill dads?
Actually started when, Faye's daughter is 5 years older than my son, and my wife was still pregnant with Arthur. And so it was the grill dads to be when we first started working on it. But to us, like, just a dad at a grill says so much about us and the brand and what we want to achieve, because everybody kind of has an idea of what that is. So we've wanted to champion the modern dad. Like if you look at our brand deck that we don't put on our website, but it kind of, works. It informs our brand partnerships. It informs our brand and who we are. It's always like we want to be the North Star for modern dads, right? So we had, growing up, dadding is different now than it was when we were kids. And we wanted to be present. We wanted to contribute in the house. We wanted to spend time with our family instead of disappearing to the golf course for 9 hours on a Saturday, and kind of redefine what that means. But we don't do that from a soapbox. We just like to lead by example. And one of the ways that we wanted to inspire modern dads is through cooking. Our culinary point of view is anything you can make inside, you can make better outside on a grill. So we're not barbecue dads. That's a cuisine. A grill is a tool. It's very specifically not barbecue. And we kind of developed this lane and hit the road, so to speak.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have much more to add to that other than, I think it can't be understated enough, like that the representation of the modern dad is something that people need to really think about. This isn't, like Mark said, it's not a soapbox. We're not political. We're not polarizing. What we are is inclusive. We're diverse. We contribute to the house in a different way than men typically did back in the day. And, like we always say, we don't wear braided belts and we don't have New Balance sneakers and mow the grass to avoid the kids. Like, it's really we're part of the team. We're equals with our partners. And our kids also need to learn some skills that maybe our dads taught us, but in a new era, in a new way. And, it's a big, crazy, fucked up, scary world out there in general. And so if we can offer some levity and we can offer really edutainment, based culinary POVs, Mark and I have, we don't play characters. We are these characters. So, we've been called a lot of things. Dumb and Dumber of Food is one of them, and some other stuff. So, I think, and Ali, you can, totally understand this too. Is like, using a lot of times you watch these food shows or and it's just like watching paint dry. It's just terrible, absolutely awful. And we're too dumb to be actors. So we just bring our own kind of POV to the table, have a really, really good time doing it. And we're not nervous or scared to ask anybody anything and learn and keep learning. I think that's the cool part about being a dad is like, there's no rule book. You're not going to get some manual. Every kid's different. Every situation's different. But, we just keep bobbing and weaving with the punches. And him and I have been doing it for so long together that, we talk more than probably to each other than our own families from blood. But that's the deal.
Yeah.
Spoken like true advertising executives. And I say that because I spent a little time working. I was the guy in the commercial audition that held the camera, and guys like you would be on the couch and you'd be like, how many more people do we have? Well, when's lunch getting here? But it also frankly informs how successful you guys have been in building what you've built, like an incredible social following and being someone, frankly, in the trenches who's still trying to figure it out. You've transitioned quite well. As you know, Neil and I came from the TV world and we're like, so apparently this whole digital thing is, it's a big thing. And you guys have really pulled that off. Do you feel like, you guys are pretty smart. You've thought this thing through. Is that how you approach being dads? Advertising executives, some real type A guys.
I mean, I'll tell you that it's not at all what I thought it was going to be. In many ways that are harder, in many ways that are better than I ever expected. But, the real rub of this is that we created this thing to talk about being the modern dad, and it takes us away from our family. And that's honestly something in the last year that's been a bigger and bigger struggle for me, because when Arthur's 11, when he was 5, he didn't care where I was as long as mom was home. And that's changed, which is great because our relationship is...
He still doesn't care where you are, but
getting better and better. And now it's moved from using our point of view on being dads to launch a career into keeping that career from making me a shitty dad. And it's like, it's really done a 180, which is kind of crazy. Fey and I think this year we traveled for 27 consecutive weeks. And I just hit a wall. And so we've just been home for a few weeks, which is amazing and crazy. We're trying to, evolve our brand and what our offering is to the world so that we can spend a little bit more time with the family.
I mean, that's something I've noticed. You guys are definitely traveling a lot, featuring like a lot of restaurants, and I'm like, damn, I want to eat there. Like, what's a day in the life of a grill dad? I mean, how much of, explain your kind of work day, if you will. It seems like a lot of it involves traveling.
Never two of the same.
It's no, and I was going to say, it's exactly what I was going to say. I wish we had a predictive measure for what tomorrow's going to bring, but true entrepreneurship sure looks a lot like manic behavior. If you really sit back and like take a second and look at it, it's not about success. It's about how much risk you can stomach. That's what a true entrepreneur does, because you're never done. Like a true entrepreneur, there's no end goal. You just keep going and going and going and going until your body breaks, or you find out that you need to go over here and do this, because there's so many different stimuli in life. But Mark and I, we're in contact with each other all the time, and we do these things where it's ridiculous. We will call each other. He'll call me in the morning at 9:00, and I'll be at the machine and computer, and I'll set my phone down, and then an hour and 25 minutes later, he's still on there. And we're just like, yo, did you do that one thing? Did you send that email over? He's like, yeah, I'm on it right now. And we'll just kind of keep this thing going the whole time. I think for most people, they would be like, you guys are insane. But the travel's gotten us a little bit because we have created a demand. By the way, this is all good stuff. Creating a demand outside of terrible contracts in television is really great. And, we're starting to dictate how we create content. And we also dictate what brands we work with. We used to be a NASCAR hood, which is never good for anybody, because that's just homogenous brands and you're just taking that for money. When you start to really form a true point of view on your brand, and your brand stands for something that's emotional, you can link that to the right revenue. And so what we've done is kind of carried that through our entire business. And we won't take on, well, first of all, we won't work with assholes, period. End of story. I don't care how much money they're throwing at us. And we've made some very hard decisions to say no and walk away. Food Network was one of those, actually. So in general, we have been very, very upfront about our desire to create something great or something that will change our family's lives. And if those two things don't work for you, then no problem whatsoever. We're not right for you. And I think that's how Mark and I carry ourselves through all of our brand deals and partnerships. And we truly hustle more than anybody. So every day is completely different. Honestly, it's wild, but lots and lots and lots of traveling. But it's also, we do business there. That's it. We just look at every single thing as a marketing opportunity for us, the brands we work with, and our DNA. Especially when you have a cocktail company that's brand new, you need to round this thing out and start to think about, like, how does that play in lifestyle? That's a long-winded way of answering your question.
Yeah.
The travel side of it, though, I'll give you an example. So, we do a lot of different things. For Johnsonville Sausages, they're one of our sponsors. We'll go travel to, so they're a sponsor of the SEC. So we'll travel to an SEC football game and cook food on SEC Nation, obviously doing Johnsonville recipes. We sell grills on TV for Ninja. We do lots of press stuff. In a couple weeks, Faye and I are flying to Buffalo, New York, and we're going to do a tailgating thing with the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs game. And then that's on a Sunday. On Monday, we're going to film social content at 3 restaurants. On Tuesday, we're going to fly or take a train from Buffalo to New York City. And then on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we're going to film at 9 restaurants. We're going to do Sherry Shepherd, Drew Barrymore, and Today Show. We're going to do a steak pop-up at Bamonte's in Brooklyn near you, Neil. And then Friday, we're going to go straight from the Today Show to fly to LA. In LA, Friday night and Saturday morning, we're going to do the Los Angeles Food and Wine Festival. And then Sunday morning, we fly to Seattle to do a pop-up with Elysian Brewing at the Seattle Seahawks game. And then Monday, we're going to film 3 restaurants for social in Seattle and then go home on the 11th. That's
a pretty standard week.
Yeah. I just got fucking exhausted.
Wow.
Dang.
I'm so tired now.
Wow. Well, you guys who's your airline? Are you agnostic?
Delta.
Who's doing your miles?
Oh, no, we're Diamond Deltas all the time, but we have to choose certain other. I mean, we're close to getting. We have status on every airline, but Delta is the one that we end up flying the most.
Congratulations! I know that's a big achievement. I want to take us back. Because we're. I want to go back to when. Who's got the older kid? Who's
Okay.
My daughter's 16 and a half, Zoe.
16 and a half. And
Yeah.
Mark, you were the expectant father when you coined the Grill Dads moniker, the brand. But you guys said, I mean, I'm totally buying what you're throwing down about, the modern dad, and that's kind of what we try to explore here a little bit too, is, what was your experience growing up with your dad? Who were the kind of the role models, and what kind of dad do you want to be? So I'm curious, like, what were your respective experiences, with what a dad was, and how did you kind of decide, like, this is the kind of dad that we want to be, on your own?
Go ahead, Mark. You start.
Well, my dad doesn't listen to podcasts, so I can just let it rip. I did get in trouble for talking about how he cooks his barbecue chicken to like 217 degrees. So I learned to be a better griller by watching him mess it up. But it was a different era. My mom was involved really day to day with us, and my dad worked and came home and sat in the chair and relaxed. And it was actually, obviously, even as a kid, I'm like, I hope I don't do that. With my dad didn't really become something that was direct. I mean, the joke was I would call home and my dad would answer the phone. I'm like, hey dad, how's it going? I was like, "Oh, going pretty well. Here's your mom." And that was it. And that felt natural to me. But actually, after my parents got a divorce, um, was the first time that I actually developed a relationship with him, which was great. And it was just kind of like, oh, I wish it was like this more. Really the big inspiration, but honestly, it was pretty boring.
Yeah, I have a very opposite experience from Mark in that I had a father who's a biologist. He's a school teacher. My mother's a fine artist, and so she is a working artist for 40 years, which is pretty unheard of, especially when you're from the Midwest. I'm from a really, really small town. It's literally raised in a forest, no joke. The largest town was Pleasantville. It's 251 people, and my high school class was 41, just to give you a scale on that. So we didn't have a lot growing up, so it was very much outside kids. Sun up, you're out. If it's right before it gets pitch black, you're back in. And that's just it's very typical of Gen X guys, 80s kids growing up. It's like, you have a thing on the TV that says, "Do you know where your kids are?" That's real. They did that because, like, no, I don't know where the fuck my kids are. They're out there somewhere in the woods. But my father, relationship with my dad was so exceptional because he's an academic. He's a brilliant man. He's like one of the sweetest people on the planet. Everyone that knows my father, he's a preservationist. He's a historian. He's just kind of a man of the world, can fix anything, can do that stuff. So if I had 10% of what my father had to give me, I would be winning in life. I'm still questing to get that, but like, he's an exceptional person that I've always exemplified or tried to exemplify and look up to. And even the way he treated my mother, who actually made more money than my father. So, and he was always trumpeting her and saying, look what you can do if you work as hard as your mom, that kind of thing. And so I have like the fucking greatest parents, period, end of story. Like, there's
For
no
real,
one.
like, what are you doing here? Like, sounds like we should be talking to your dad.
Well, it's funny. I moved here 6 days ago from Los Angeles, California, to a farm that we bought in Ohio. My father's ill. So I said, you know what? We're going to come back here and we're going to kind of reacclimate into, I got to learn how to be a redneck again, but I'm going to get there pretty quickly. I mean, I got the look already, so I'm kind of partially there.
Hashtag Go Dynasty.
Yeah, exactly.
I can give you some pointers,
Yeah, great. Yeah, oh, you definitely can. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I
I grew up in St. Louis,
Yeah, that's right.
There's a lot more going on here than anything exotic you might assume.
I'm from New Jersey,
home of
so
fried ravioli.
I am of no assistance.
No, you're not. You're just an LBI kid. We can talk to you about the beach stuff.
But so, all right, but it feels like I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys were a little bit like ahead of the game, right? I mean, like, because the modern dad thing or whatever you consider it, it's like, it's becoming trendier now. Like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with this term, the performative male.
Sure. Yeah.
And my wife and I will sometimes talk about like dads who are like performative parenting, where they're like playing with their kids in such an intense, obvious way at the playground. You're like, who is this for? To show that you're the best? But like, I think so. We're all struggling with that, right? Is like how much of being a dad is trying to put a certain message out there? How much of it is for us? How much of it is for the kids? So I'm curious, like, how did you guys even like decide on this lane?
Yeah, I can tell you one quick thing. It pissed Mark and I, both of us, off so badly that we had to look at each other and be, I think we need to do something about this. When we heard the phrase, yeah, my husband's going to babysit the kids tonight, that is the most hard to stomach phrase that's in modern society. If you look at all commercials and all media, they portray us as absolute idiots and buffoons. All we do is wear a bad apron that says kiss the chef and make shitty hot dogs and burgers. And that's all the dad's role is. And he gets a tie and a mug, right? If you're lucky, and you might forget his birthday, but that's okay. And dad can drive really long distances there it is. Dad can drive long distances to get you out on vacation. That's it. It's all we got. We're just vessels for that. That's all it is. So that pissed us off.
Yeah, in the media, we always say it's Don Draper at work and Al Bundy at home, and there's not a whole bunch in the middle. Also, too, I mean, I had Arthur later in life, so I got an opportunity to do a lot of living. I couldn't imagine how messed up a kid would be if I had that kid when I was 23.
Oh, I can imagine.
Would have been.
He tried to mess up my daughter. Actually, in all due respect, Mark was the very first person that watched the infant Zoe when we went on an overnight trip. I'm divorced now, but when my wife and I went on an overnight trip, changed her diapers, watched her. He was the very first person to ever watch Zoe without us was Mark.
I was the Manny.
He was the Manny. Yeah. So
nasty diapers.
I mean, I imagine. How old are you guys, by the way, if you don't mind?
We'll be 50 November 16th and 18th. We're 2 days apart.
God, you're literally 2 days. Wow, look at that. I mean, like, are you sure you're not like brothers? And well, I guess the 2 days, that would be a long labor. Okay.
Long.
So, because like so you came up during like the Mr. Mom era of like, the Michael Keaton film, of course.
We did.
Has that ever been remade, Ollie? I feel like we're due for like a new take.
It could be taboo right now. I mean, who knows?
I'd be happy to remake Hulk Hogan's The Nanny. He's obviously not going to be in it, so
he's not going to do it.
Probably The Rock, because Smashing Machine didn't do well.
But it's so interesting, right? I mean, like you talk about like the evolution of like, and Ollie and I are huge pop culture junkies, right? So we are often talking about like TV dads, movie dads, dads in media, and there has been that evolution between like dopey dad, like not involved, all the way to I think, and I often credit, obviously it's more than just this, but I actually think Barack Obama kind of made being a dad cool, 15 years ago, like, because there was, and we've said it before, and it's a weird thing to say that like parenting or being a dad is sometimes seen as like women's work, but it's like, well, how could it be? Because most dads are dudes, right? But I think in this sense that like, oh, that's something I also do. It's not my main thing. And I think, and I've told this story a lot on this podcast of kind of why we're here is Ollie and I came from the TV world, and, media is starting to become insanely fractured and fragmented, and as often happens with lots of different industries. And we were, trying to sell a bunch of different projects and kind of just in the trenches, just talking about our kids. And we had this revelation of like, why are we not just doing this? Like, what is more important than this? Like literally every aspect of our kids. The joys, the struggles, the stuff we can relate to each other on, like, because at the end of the day, like, who gives a shit how many hours of reality TV we've made? Certainly not my kids. Well, yeah, I know we do want to get the thousands of hours, but there's not even residuals. Who cares?
I got a $381 residual check yesterday. It was
Ooh, what for?
Sherry Shepherd appearance, I believe.
Dang,
that is shocking.
Yeah,
I got to pick up my mail from LA somehow. Still have to change my damn address.
They said since I did all the heavy lifting in the segment.
Is that what they said? That what they said? Yeah, sure.
Just gave it to me. But
Heavy
the
was in
performative mail thing, by the way. I mean, social media. I mean, I think it's insane right now how bullshit superficial something can be, and people buy into it. It's like the parents, the mommy bloggers, and the families where it's like the freaking parents are going to jail because they're such assholes to their kids. Yet people still consume that stuff like it's oxygen, which is crazy.
Yeah, and I'll be totally honest. I don't want to speak for you, Ollie, but like it's something I struggle with because I'm like, is this gross what we're doing, a parenting podcast? And because we are talking about our kids and we're making it our brand, and it's that weird thing of you're like, how much of it is, well, we're putting positive stuff out into the world and talking about this stuff, and then how much of it is feels exploitative. And I think it's a necessary conversation worth having because you never want to do anything that exploits your kids or makes them
But
feel
you're not exploiting, you're illustrating. Those are two very different things. Like if you think about exploitation and illustration, illustrations for education and debate and purpose, exploitation is for just financial gain. So I think what I like is, and all due credit to you guys, is exposing the illustrative pieces of being a true dad and the struggles. There's some really interesting stuff that's been out there recently that I've seen about the male psyche, and that there's more going on in a male's head, especially if you're a father, than most people have any idea. You know why? Because we don't fucking talk about it, and we don't actually bring those things out to have a hearty debate, because there's vulnerability, and it looks like the old ethos is, well, you don't have any strength then. If you're vulnerable, it means you're weak. Well, Mark and I, feel that vulnerability actually makes us stronger. And so I think we do like to talk about that stuff. We do get pissed off. We do get upset. We do get super happy, and I think the fight as entrepreneurs is something that him and we just can't turn it off. We're too dumb to turn it off. Mark always says, like, we're like the greatest golden retrievers. If someone has a great brand new ball, and it doesn't matter what direction, time of day, if they throw it over there, we're going after it, and we're going to bring it back. Might take us a minute, but we'll get it.
This is really fascinating because, to the casual observer, including me, I'm a bit of a golden retriever myself, I'm seeing you guys and you're doing that. What is the best way to, cook bratwurst? I did enjoy that video. But the other side of it is like this dogged tenacity you've had to create essentially your profession, be entrepreneurs. And, you guys are like, I feel like you guys like had proper jobs and stuff like that. I feel like I'm someone who kind of eventually finally won $6,000 playing the lottery for 25 years when I, kind of landed in TV. You guys are, you guys got teeth, you guys are driven, and you're very, you have strong convictions about what you believe dads should be. How does that translate into, how you parent your actual kids,
On the business side, we call it too stupid to stop. We've had things happen in our grill dad world and career that, 95 out of 100 people would have been like, at least I gave it a shot, and for us, it's just, we just go to the next thing. And we've always taken everything on ourselves. Agents struggle to keep up with us. And we were with William Morris Endeavor, and we were doing Food Network stuff. Although Neil never let us on The Best Thing We Ever Ate, but that can be a different podcast.
Thanks a lot, Neil.
So we're the first people to ever host a show and not be on that, but that's a different podcast.
All joking not only just show the number one time slot player of any new show of all time. Other than that, go ahead, keep going.
Who was your point at WME?
Jason.
Yeah.
Hodis?
They were worse than not having agents. There's a few great people there, like Jeff Google, who's like just the best human in the world.
The absolute best.
But we went to them because Faye and I had a goal, in building a brand, and being on the Food Network didn't want us to build a brand. And we came in through Guy Fieri's show, so we had to sign basically like a contestant agreement. So we had the worst deal in the world. We had brand opportunities. They wouldn't let us do it. So we went to William Morris Endeavor and said, we're contractually set up to never do anything more than hit a single here. And we either want to be set up to be able to hit a home run, or we want out. And that was, Faye and I decided on it. We're very resolute about it. William Morris Endeavor said, we think you should do what we do at the Food Network, which is judge and compete on the other stuff and wait for your next opportunity. And we said, thank you very much. You're fired. And we went to UTA and we're like, are you into this? And they're like, fuck yeah, we're into it. So like, great, let's do it. Food Network wasn't into it. So we left, because it wasn't in line with what our goals are. And honestly, it's the best thing that ever happened to us because we have it on our resume. But at the same time, like, we were able to get the handcuffs removed, thank thank you to the Godfather, Guy Fieri, who helped us in moving on with our lives there. But it's the same thing. It's like, and it's actually probably from the advertising background. Whenever you have a new campaign you're trying to create, you have to make a brief. And the brief is one page, very succinct, with a very clear goal. And Faye and I, every step of the way, have that. And that kind of is bled from our career into our personal lives as well. It's like we have a real clear goal and then we can work back to get it. But we always, I mean, what two D-bags in the world in their personal life always say is like, is this on brief for us? You know, but we've walked away from major opportunities. We've taken really small opportunities, and everything in between is we're laser focused.
And that to your parenting point, I think that perseverance and illustration to our kids, and by the way, to each other's kids, which is really interesting. Like Uncle Bomo is like Zoe, he walks on water with my kid because he's not a pushover. He's the one that when we're skiing and she kind of bumps into him, he'll wait for the right opportunity to shove her off the hill, like the whole mountain, which is hilarious. And I'm all for it. So I'm like, go, baby, go, you know. And Arthur, he's another story altogether. This kid's like making his own board games and shit. And, you know, I speak very simply for the most. His vocabulary outweighs mine by 30x. So we have such a good relationship with our families. But I think they see the hustle and they see the creativity. And honestly, they see the laughter. And they see arguments sometimes. And, you know, they kind of, we don't really shield our kids that much from that kind of stuff. They're more aware, I think, just in terms of just being aware. You don't have to have a position necessarily yet, but just be aware of what's happening, what's going on. And our kids are raised in two very different places. You know, this kid's being raised in Boise, mine's in Los Angeles. So, you know, that's a really wild difference there, but they have such mutual respect for each other and they're best friends. So it's pretty cool.
So Faye, now you're living out of state from your
I am. So yeah, my wife and I here, her mom, Zoe's mom. What's great, and you guys, this is what's crazy about a 16-year-old. She's the sweetest person, by the way, and I'm going to say amazing things about Zoe. Straight A student, just like a really sweet, very intentional child, like empathetic, like you would not believe. I think a lot of that has to do with, you know, guy like me coming from the Midwest. Her mom's from Jersey. From Metuchen. So yeah, that's where she's from. She had houses on LBI. So we spent lots and lots and lots of time. Oh, you were at Summit Hospital? There you go. So very much the hardcore Jersey Italian attitude from her mom and the softy, you know, burly Midwest guy. So Zoe's got this kind of dichotomy, but was born in Good Sam downtown in Los Angeles. So, but she is going to stay back in LA to finish her last 2 years of high school, which was her decision. It was her choice. We decided for multiple reasons we invested in this 2.5 years ago, this farm, and then finally decided to move here because Zoe was ready. And she said, no, Dad, you guys you're the grill dads, you're doing grilling time, you travel all the time. And I got a schedule. I got shit to do, you know? So she's very much like taking the ball. This she's a hip hop dancer, like competitive hip hop dancer, and like does plays and musicals. And so Z is like just locked up, and then she'll do independent learning here as well. Because in LA, what's cool is like one of the few cool things of Los Angeles is that she can come here for weeks on a time and do independent study. The pandemic really unshackled a lot of those rules, especially for the state. So if she can come here 2-3 weeks, work from here, etc. And Mark and I are back in LA constantly anyway. So it's kind of like just having a home base here versus there.
Interesting. Go ahead, Ollie.
I just wanted to observe this heavy kind of Harold Pinter beat where we take in the silence for a second. Because unlike...
Does anyone else hear like a little noise like the locusts are coming?
I'm hearing the hissing. I'm hearing it.
I have a farm of crickets. Now, I don't know. It's not me, I swear. I'll go on mute.
Everyone go on mute.
That's here. No, that's here. It's the locust.
It stopped when Ollie muted.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, it's weird.
I have no locusts. I am a locust.
Mark, it's got to be here because I can hear them out here.
It stopped when they clicked it. I don't know.
Really?
I see how it is, Mark. I am the plague.
Yeah.
I am the Pharaoh. Enjoy my plague.
So we can't do this again for another 7 years when those locusts come back out.
You guys met at what age? How old were you guys?
In college.
In college.
And then were you like an advertising team? Were you like Joey Gladstone and Jesse Katsopoulos, or you were at different firms?
No. So my first 12 years out of college, I was a tour manager and audio engineer in the music business. So Faye went to Ohio University. I went to Ohio State. I was working with a band from Ohio University that was friends with Faye. So we met a couple times in college, but where we really truly met was the band that I was working with. Every time we came to New York City, we'd crash at Faye's house. And then I started working with other artists. So, always kind of meet up or crash at his place and always have a day or two off. And he had a regular 9 to 5, and I was doing this crazy music business stuff. So I would cook a crazy big dinner. And then that's kind of like how the cooking thing started. Then Faye moved to LA. Many years later, I moved to LA. And then, it was the Sunday afternoon grilling sessions that really kind of sparked the whole thing. But yeah, we've known each other since college. It's been 30 years.
Yeah.
I'm very
What was the
curious.
band? What band did you manage or work with?
Got some crazy.
So started out with a regional band from Ohio that's still kicking ass called Red, Wanting Blue. They used to tour all the time with OAR, into being the audio engineer for Maroon 5. And so they were opening up for Guster the first day that I worked with them. And then on the last day that I worked for them, they had the number 1 song in the world. So that was pretty cool to see.
Maroon 5 opened for Guster?
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That's really funny. That is, yeah. I mean, you gotta start somewhere. That's
And
really...
I got yelled at from the Guster front of house engineer for making it way too loud for an opening band. It's really funny. But then 9 months later they're headlining arenas. So that was pretty incredible. Jennifer Hudson, All American Rejects, the Donnas, they're the best people in the world. That was probably the most fun thing I've ever did. And a lot of stuff for RCA music group. So I know it's not the deal anymore, but it was back in the day where I would do a lot of radio promotional tours with the people coming off of Idol. So did it for 12, 14 years.
Cool. And then you parlayed into advertising alongside Faye, or?
Yeah, I did marketing in college. And then I always say there's 2 types of people in the touring world: young people having a blast, and then old people with 3 ex-wives and kids that don't talk to them. And one day you just wake up and you're the wrong guy. And so I was proactively trying to get out of it. So the transition for me was into experiential marketing, which is event-based stuff. Went on to produce the NCAA Final Four basketball fan festival, doing lots of like sports-related touring, event activation stuff. Faye was one of the founders of a really successful ad agency in LA called Omelet. And then when I moved, I was getting a divorce. It just so happened that they had a big experiential campaign with a TV show. So I went in and took that over. And then 7 years of my life disappeared in Los Angeles. And then I left LA with beautiful.
Yep.
And then I'm curious because, we have this, and this is I think a larger conversation, but I feel like you guys you have enough gravitas to have it, provide some insights about just like capitalism in general. You've already kind of laid your cards on the table that there are certain brands you don't want to work with, certain people you don't want to work with. I mean, when you're in advertising, you're in marketing, you're having to sell stuff that you may not believe in. I mean, how did you do that? It seems like you did it very well. And then how did you make your way out of that to now get to a place where you have the freedom to say, yeah, no, we're not going to be a part of, get shilling for products or people or things that we don't believe in.
I think that the grill Faye for Ninja is the best example of those 2 worlds culminating together.
Yeah.
Because Ninja called us and said, well, first of all, Faye and I think I speak for both of us and say, we've certainly never worked with, on, or for a product that we believed against. We've had opportunities to work on all sorts of weird stuff, and we've always said no.
Yeah, and that's been from even when I owned the shop and was refinancing my house to cover payroll because we were taking a dip. We made a conscious decision very early on to be ethical to ourselves, and that was the lighthouse. We were honestly, we probably could have taken in millions and millions and more dollars, on an annual basis if we would have just turned the other way. But I don't know, man. I think Mark and I we're cut of the exact same cloth. There's not enough time in the world or enough. You can't outcook a bad steak. So don't buy it. And the same applies for advertising. Most agencies do things for money because that's how it's built. The reason I'm not there anymore and was ostensibly pushed out of my own company was because I didn't believe in the new regime that was coming in that really looked at everyone as a number and not as a person. And so therefore I said, I'm out.
So as far as, how we evaluate stuff. So about 4 years ago, Ninja, the appliance company, called us. We worked for them for 4 years. They're an amazing company to work with. And they called us and said, hey, we have a new outdoor electric grill, and we want you guys to work on the launch. In the infomercial, do all the social, do like a creator deal for our social media as well. It's a huge opportunity for us financially. Fey and I, behind closed doors, we're like, aren't you guys the infomercial people? Don't you make blenders?
I want to give the grill dads an electric grill?
Yeah, and it's a small portable electric grill. So initially, Fey and I, we looked at each other, and what we said when we weren't in front of them was, like, they're going to send it to us, and we need to enjoy using it, and it has to do everything that they say it does. And if that does that, and they're not asking us to misrepresent it or do anything like that, then we're in. And they sent it to us, and the thing was a little rock star. I mean, it was just like packed a punch, made great food, and so we're in. But for us, it was like, we need to enjoy using it, and it has to be 100% what they say it is. Otherwise, we're out. And then somebody, when we were in the advertising agency world, said to me, they were internal strategy department was polling all of the employees. And they said, what brands would you like to work with? And they wanted everybody to give 5 brands they wanted to work with, and then they were going to look at the intersection of all those 5 brands and go out and pitch them because there was internal passion about it. And I was like, I don't give 2 shits if it's adult diapers or Nike. I want to work with people that value us and we have a true partnership with. I mean, obviously, I don't want to sell something that I think is immoral, unethical, or anything like that, but. And that, Ninja was that for us. I mean, we worked with a ton of great people there. Johnsonville Sausage, the people there, they're everything you would ever dream sausage people from Wisconsin would be. And we love working for them. And that's just it. So, but that's kind of how we make those capitalistic decisions.
What about like having kids too? Does that add? It sounds like you guys have always had a strong moral compass. I'm taking notes. Get one of those. But yeah, how has, being dads shaped how you approach your business opportunities?
I mean, I think significantly. I think, it's probably more subconscious than we probably realize. But Mark and I both, like Mark said, if there's anything in the world that could turn out to be negative or hurtful to any of, not just to us, but to our families and just even the perception, we're not guys that are going to put ourselves out there and say something so stupid to get canceled because we don't believe that stuff. We're not those guys. So we don't have anything that we're holding back. There's nothing that we're hiding from anybody. I think that's actually one of the more refreshing pieces that most brands that work with us are like, wait, you guys actually, like, you do what you say. Well, no shit. I mean, that's our entire reputation is this. This is it, man. The Grill Dads are Mark and Fey. And then we need to transcend above that. And that's why Grillin' Time for us has become this verb and a noun. So now we're looking at this being our kind of holding, and all of the ripples now for our IP should stem from Grillin' Time because it is an action. It's an action as a verb. It's also a set of products, goods, and services. So if we look at it that way, I think having kids really is making us think about there is no limit for us, and we're going to create generational wealth and a legacy to be proud of. And that's what our quest is. And it's fucked up because we're almost 50, but like, we're just getting started, man.
They used to joke that, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Anything you do now is a part of the digital history book forever.
Doesn't matter.
So there's nothing that you can do right now that your kid isn't going to have access to as an adult. And that's a really interesting filter to look at things through, because it's like, hey, when my son's 25 and he knew we worked for this shithead guy, what would he think about that? Would I be proud? There was an alcohol company where the main investor was extremely political, and we said no, we didn't want to work with them. We had some dating website. I think it's the one where that Congressman Weiner found his like underage targets. They literally came to us and wanted us to help them like rebrand and launch and stuff. And we're just like, and it was they were well funded, and we're like, we're gonna pass on that one. So we've had some real weird stuff pop up, and it's like, would my future son be proud of what we did? Is something I think about all the time, because I'm constantly, my nephews are 19 and 21, and so I'm constantly reminding them that the internet's forever, and act accordingly. And so it's a good reminder for myself.
Exactly. With my 16 and a half year old, they're constant. And all you can do as a dad is just hope that you have given them the right tools to make the most educated, good decisions for themselves. You can't force them to do X, Y, and Z, nor should you. But my job, my dad always said, my job was just to give you the tools to love music, to treat people with respect, and always know who you are. And so those are very simple ideas in the world that we don't say enough to our kids. Like those are the three things my dad wanted from me, period. Nothing, everything else was gravy, but those three things. So for Zoe, same thing with her. I pretty much identical, same things to her, and she loves and respects herself. And that's all we can give to our kids, because then they won't do this.
I realize you are dads of one kid. Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. Did you guys have siblings?
I did.
We both had one sibling.
Yeah, we both have one.
What is it like? It's interesting. I'm also an only child as well, but do you any regret there? I mean, obviously, kids are 11 and 16, but since you had that experience, that your kids do or don't, or any reflection on that?
I mean, I think, it's in our family. I mean, I grew up, you were talking about like our parents earlier. My family identity was the big group, big Italian family. My mom was one of 5. I had like 147 cousins, not literally, but a ton of them. Everyone got together. I mean, we got together for like Arbor Day. I mean, it was a family gathering all the time, and that was
By the way, don't sleep on Arbor Day, guys. That's a good time.
Tree tacos, pretty awesome. But Arthur, so my sister has 3 kids that are way older. And my niece on my wife's side, who's the light of our life, is severely autistic. And so my heart breaks for Arthur on the cousin front, because he doesn't have that big family that we did. As far as the sibling thing, we spent enough money to buy a second house on IVF, trying to have a second one. It wasn't in the cards. And then, so when Arthur hit 4.5, which is like, we kind of joke that people talk about the terrible twos, but no one talks about the FU4. And so when Arthur was 4.5, we're like, why are we doing this? So, we've really just embraced life as an only child, which is tough, because I mean, it's hard to not just be about them. And it's like our, as like the primal dad in us, it's like, don't be an asshole, don't be a wimp, don't be lazy. That's kind of like your fundamental things that you're supposed to get across from a father to a son. But we've found a great group here in Idaho. Is in an amazing school, has lots of opportunities to do fun stuff, so it's, for us, it wasn't a choice. It was just kind of where we ended up. But honestly, in the last 7 years since we stopped funding the IVF facilities, house in Tahiti, I haven't thought twice about it. But it is, the bigger family thing sometimes is a little bit sad.
I probably say I have a little bit of that. I wish Zoe would have a little bit of what I had grown up. I mean, my brother and I fought like total redneck kids from Ohio you would think they would. We're crawling on fertilizer piles and dropping out of trees and riding every motorized thing you can possibly ride, to where you break so many bones that eventually a social services worker is in the hospital and has to talk to your parents. Like, why is your kid here every other week? Like, should we come over and do a check-in at your house? Like, no, man, these kids
say things like, you're not my real dad.
Right, exactly. But yeah, I think, but you know what, man, I think, you have to be careful, because the world centers around them, but you can't be a helicopter parent. And I think I learned that pretty early on. You got to let them fail. Got to let them get hurt a little bit. Got to let them take one to the chin. I think everyone needs to be shot a couple times, just in general, just to understand what it means to be human. Not shot as in gunshot, but as in, shot. But I think that's just...
Are you saying you're pro-vaccine? Are we getting a scoop here? I'm just kidding.
Right? Yeah, I'm not getting political, man.
Fey's t-shirt says, bring the jab.
Ooh.
Bring on the jab, man. Yeah.
Well, I mean, look, you guys have so much wisdom between the two of you. I'm curious if any of, if you got anything from, you know, friends in the industry, whether it's advertising, food, peers, maybe folks who had kids before you. Like, was there any kind of dad advice that set you on a course besides your own families that, kind of stuck with you?
I
Honestly,
mean, yeah.
I can't
Go
think
ahead,
of a
Mark.
single one.
Yeah.
Again, more of like a lead by example stuff. I mean, I have lots of, friends and family members who I think crush it, and I get to see them crush it and see. I think that's what changed where the goal line was for me. And again, it's like I think for my dad, it's like the his life established a goal line that was in a different spot, and I just decided that he didn't do anything wrong, but that just wasn't the right spot for me. But again, I think it was more by example. And it is always interesting too when your parents have parenting advice for you. That should be its own podcast. What your parents think you should do differently with your own kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think, I've got a lot of times, I honestly, early on, especially when I was going through my divorce, Mark was not to give Mark some credit here, damn it, but I would be like, man, I think I fucked this up. I don't know I have no idea what I'm doing right now. And Mark's the kind of guy that will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And that's in every case. No matter what you're looking for, man, if you can say to him, hey, dude, just do me a favor. Just tell me something nice right now. He'll just hang up the phone. So everybody has to have a Mark. I got one. I got the OG. So he helped with a lot of advice throughout some of these pretty gnarly spots that I had in many different situations. I haven't had this like storied golden laid brick thing. It's been pretty rough. I had a rough relationship after my divorce, and it was all bad. Mark knows all about that because he helped me get out of that one. But he's always kept Zoe protective. He's been very protective of Zoe from day one. Which
I just have friends, similar to what Faye's saying. It's like accountability from a very young age. Like, it's like I've said to, Faye and I have said like, we'll be on a call and it's like confrontational. And it's like one of us will text the other, like, you're being an asshole, step it back, and
Yeah.
that's just what it is. And when someone's, cornered and not doing the right thing, it's like, hey, are you behaving in a way, right? I think the answer is no. So fucking knock it off. But it really has been more about accountability than straight advice from this crew.
Yep, agreed.
You guys have had you've gone down a path. You've had different jobs. To say that you've had some sort of like larger goals in mind and driven is pretty obvious, right? But I'm just wondering, despite that long-standing passion to really do something great, to build something, right? As you said, you're entrepreneurs. Like, have those goals or the end game, the destination, has that changed as you've had kids, or even as your kids have gotten older?
Well, there's an immediate switch that happens. So every dollar and everything that you quest for no longer is yours. It's just not for you anymore when you have a kid. It's for them. And it's just, I think that's just a natural, survival. You want to, it's probably as primal as it gets, right? You want your copy, your being, your DNA to continue on and to be successful and to be safe and protected and all of that. I think it definitely changes your perspective. Like, you're not necessarily, making vacations to go, kick it around Europe and, smoke joints in Amsterdam and then go, over there and have you're really making plans with your family, I think, more than anything now. And to be able to do that, it definitely changes the goal. I mean, the goal is experience, right? Is experience as a team, as a family, versus experience of the place or with your friends as before. I think that's a big one.
I think the pandemic for me really exasperated that because we went from working hard to fucking nuts during the pandemic because it was like, make hay while the sun shines. It's like everything felt so off. And like when you're a business owner, it's like, hey, let's do a family budget for next year. I'm like, okay, let's start with the idea that I have no clue how much money I'm going to make. It's like I don't have a salary. We don't know if this sponsor's going to renew. Like we don't know. So there's so many unknown things, which I actually think caused, like for me personally, like an unhealthy sense of urgency to do everything that we could for the Girl Downs. And that's what really like kicked us into overdrive, I think, in good ways and bad ways. But for me, it's like, my parents provided really well for me. Help him buy his first house. I'd like for him to, have a business idea that sounds brilliant, which I'm sure he'll have, and be able to help him with that, both from a guidance standpoint and from a financial standpoint. Like to be able to pay for his college. I don't want, when my wife and I are, so honestly, it drives everything.
How do you hope your kids describe you decades from now when they're talking about dad
That's heavy.
Yeah. Well, we ask everybody. We say, picture this. They're in their 20s, just got their, new apartment, and they're like, oh, well, you got to meet my dad. He's like this. Or they're in their 40s and like, well, growing up, my dad was always like this. He's the type of guy who, how do you want them to talk about you?
Well, is their number one supporter? It's you have different obligations as a parent, right? You've got to hold them accountable. But if you do that in the right way, they should feel supported by the accountability. So I think cheerleader, number one advocate is the kind of stuff that I'd like to hear, because I spent many years when Arthur was younger trying to convince him that he should be interested in the stuff that I loved when I was his age. And then the light switch went off and I'm like, that's how I grew up. This is, what do you like? And the things I'm passionate about, I share with him because I want him to see that I'm passionate and enjoy stuff. And then if he latches onto it, great. If not, it's like, awesome. What are you doing today? Like, what do you want to do? But I think number one advocate, supporter, all those things for me.
Yeah. I mean, I echo that as well. I think also just like the idea of, Zoe will say, my dad can do that. My dad knows how to do that. And if he doesn't, he'll figure it out. So I think they see like the perseverance of stuff, and sometimes, it's not all roses with your kids, they read it on your faces, you come home, you're exhausted, you're tired, you got beat up, you lost this deal, this thing's happening, you're always chasing stuff. I mean, you guys are familiar with all of those things. I'm just saying. So like, I think those are the moments in which you show your child that the idea of overcoming with your collective group, it's a team effort. And so I'll always be on Zoe's team, always. So, but I'm not going to show her how to do everything either. And, I'm going to put her on that scary plane by herself, at an early age. I'm going to, ask her to walk home and be aware, those types of things are, I think, very important. And again, it is example. Like Mark said at the very beginning, it's like we try to be the best dads, but not by talking all the time, by leading, by example. I think it's the best way to truly share what you believe in with your kid is showing them.
It's funny. My son goes to a very small private school in Idaho, which I describe sometimes to my wife's great aggravation as a little hippy dippy spot. They believe kids should behave and do the right thing because they understand what the right thing is and want to do the right thing, not due to fear of consequences. Oh, if you don't do your homework, that's, it's a whole different world, and the school goes from like K through 9, and the preschool kids, they're awful. I mean, because it's like they're in this world where they have to figure it out themselves. So it's like there's kids like beating their dad with their shoe and they tell them it's time to go. But then the 9th graders, polished young adults, and it's really crazy to see this transition. That's been one of the hardest things for me because that is certainly not how I was raised. But just letting them find their own interests. And my biggest win this year is I'm a huge football person. Ohio State Buckeyes, Buffalo Bills.
I'm still shocked that he did this. I'm happy.
Love them both. And so my son was always excited that I was excited about watching football, but would never watch it for more than 5 minutes. Oh, cool, the Bills are winning, and then he would go in the other room. And all of a sudden this year, sits down next to me on the couch, we snuggle up, grab a blanket, and he watches the entire game and asks me questions about the rules the entire 3 hours. It's incredible.
I was going to say, I wanted to get your answer to this question. What's your proudest moment as a dad? I think, Mark, you may have answered it, but I'll give you an opportunity to maybe come up with something else that's also related to the Buffalo Bills, because it has to be, obviously.
Well, I think, for my son, it was actually this summer Faye and I were in New York City, again, wasn't home, which sucked. And he had to get an emergency appendectomy. He had like severe appendicitis, and based on the blood results, they thought hey, it may have actually burst, which makes it a whole different world. And I was stuck in a hotel room in New York City. And I'm like, this is so dumb. We're supposed to go have a freaking French dip at Salt Hanks, and my son's at a hospital. And he was lights out scared, the whole thing. They went to the hospital, and they didn't know it was appendicitis. And they gave him something to make him feel a little more comfortable. He fell asleep. He woke up and they're like, you're going into surgery. There's all these like scary new people doing all this stuff. And when he got out, he was like, he woke up and he goes, is it over? And they're like, yeah, you did great. He's like, I did that. And I was just like, it's crazy to think appendicitis was a good thing, but it's like something that we've been able to like go back when other things are scary for him and say, look, you let a bunch of strangers cut your belly button open and yank your appendix out of your, I think you can handle this situation. But that was probably the number one for me. The football, close second.
Well, all right, guys. I want to say thank you for being here. And this is an unusual one for us because, as Ollie mentioned, you're our first duo. So we do this thing here called the Dad Lightning Round. And who's older by 2 days?
Fey.
All right, so here's what we're going to do. Ollie's going to take you through the Dad Lightning Round. He's going to ask a question. Fey, you're going to answer first. Then Mark, you're going to answer second. If you have the same answer, that's fine. I mean, we're gonna try it. We're gonna see what happens. So
are we keeping score? Can I beat Fey at this? Is there a winner?
Hey, it's not really like we're all winners. We're all the world's greatest dad. That's
me first. I'm already a winner.
Yeah.
The best way to approach this is to understand there are life-changing consequences at the end of it.
Yeah, but we won't tell you what they are. So, Ollie Khan, welcome the Grill Dads to our Dad Lightning Round and take them through it.
Grill Dads, are you ready for the Lightning Round?
Let's do it.
I don't think so, but let's do it.
Number 1, parenting advice in 5 words or less.
Don't be an asshole.
Embrace the now.
2 sides of a great coin, really. Choose one grill superpower. Perfect sear or endless marinade?
Perfect sear, hands down.
Sear.
I think
Marinades
the endless
are for dummies and
marinade.
cheap meat.
I don't even know what endless marinade means, but
It means just like to turn the meat into mush. I think it's a whole other. That's going to be my new product. It's called endless marinade. It's acid.
Lightning round in this. Sorry, go ahead.
It's actual acid. It happens. One cookbook every dad should own besides your own.
Salt, fat, heat, acid.
I'll say it correctly. Salt, fat, acid, heat. But
whatever.
Same.
Oh, we're already doing a score here. Go-to dad snack.
What? I'm sorry, what'd you say?
Go-to dad snack.
Home or restaurant?
Let's go with home.
Corn nuts.
Wow. Thought you knew him well, Mark. Tickled.
Corn nuts. Really boring salted pretzels.
Okay. Best musician's catalog to grill to.
Currently, I'm going to say, I'm going to say Willie Nelson's Spotify radio.
Tom Petty.
I knew you were going to say that.
Although Mark Knopfler radio is what's happening.
That's a good one, too. Yeah. Rattlesnake.
Can you tell these guys are friends for a long time? Cold brew or sweet tea?
Pass.
Hard pass.
Okay. Dream guest to grill for.
Wow. I would say, it's funny you brought it up. I would love to grill for Barack Obama.
But he likes his steak well done.
Not after I
he
grill.
Smash burgers too, though, so he'd be good.
No, he's fine. He needs a little education on how to. That's all. You can tell him I said that.
Yeah, well, he's next week.
First one to come to mind for me, and I could change it every second I think, would probably be Jose Andres.
Well, that's better pull out the molecular gastronomy ninja grill.
I think he would enjoy like elevated meat and potatoes world. That's why I think he'd be so great. Like he does that crazy stuff.
Yeah. He makes a Spanish and tortilla patata. It's like 3 ingredients, man. It's like his thing.
No, for sure. Greatest dad food hack ever.
Grill the vegetables.
Really?
Rotisserie chicken from the store can be the starter ingredient for many great things.
And I just want to clarify: grilled cabbage versus raw cabbage. Kids will crush it.
Right.
Carrots, all of it.
Best barbecue side dish.
Best barbecue side dish. Mine's gonna be the corn, probably cream corn.
Yams.
Okay. One ingredient everyone should have in their pantry.
Malden salt.
Diamond kosher salt.
Salt and salt. One kitchen tool. Really, I'm sorry, say it again.
It's the only thing you really need.
Fair enough. One kitchen tool you can't live without.
I'm gonna go ahead and say a 10-inch chef's knife.
Fair. Food service tongs.
Good one.
Do you click them twice before? Yeah, you have to
Well,
click
that's
it
what
twice.
the other dads do, Ollie. That's not what modern dads do. We click them.
That's what meme dads do.
Oh my god! Favorite movie to watch with your kids?
Die Hard.
So we have a lot of
It's a lightning round.
we have a lot of rules in our house about when, like, we can't watch Halloween movies until October 1st, but holiday movies we love, and so we won't watch a holiday movie before
You still haven't said the
day
fucking
after
movie.
Thanksgiving. But it's going to be Home Alone, and my wife hates it.
Just say it.
Home Alone. Home Alone. All right. Oh, I know what the best part of this podcast has been. Just that right there.
You can cut the
And-
first hour.
Finally, guy. Well played. Finally. Best part about being a dad.
I'm gonna say the hugs, the snuggles and the hugs from the little thing that is not so little anymore, but sure shit wish he was.
Watching them fall in love with doing something, finding their own passions is pretty awesome to watch.
Damn, that was a good
And
one.
pull my fingers.
Deep.
Still pretty
Those were
great.
deep. Pull my finger. I taught my daughter that too. She's good at it.
What?
Ryan, Fey, Mark Anderson are the world's greatest dads.
Yes, you made it, Mark.
Congratulations.
There's
It looks like it was 7-6, Mark, in that round,
It's not so.
according to my scorekeeping.
You won. You won at being a dad. Thank you guys for being here.
yeah.
Thank
Hot
You guys are
dang.
awesome.
It was
So,
fun.
Ollie, you're in Austin.
Yeah.